The breaking news story at the SAR, of course, is that 31-year-old Tiffany Meek has been denied bail. She, of course, has been arrested in connection with the death of her son, Jaden Lee. She's now facing charges of murder and defeating the ends of justice. Jubilant scenes are playing out outside the Roodepoort Magistrates Court. That's where we find SABC News reporter Lopang Alamu, who joins us now live. Lopang, as we continue covering now the reaction to this breaking news story, as expected, many residents who've watched this case closely welcoming this decision.
Definitely, Ayanda. I'm just going to move out of shot, and our colleague Stelo Salula will be showing you the visuals of what is currently happening outside court. They are celebrating the judgment that was been made not so long ago by Magistrate Annalene Africa, who basically agreed with the state in a number of factors where this case is concerned, citing that she will attempt to evade trial in this matter, as well as the fact that the owners lied on the applicant to prove that it's in the best interest of justice for her to be granted bail. And that issue we spoke about earlier, the address issue particularly, was also mentioned as part of the reasons Tiffany Nicole Meek was not granted bail. So she will be in custody until the commencement of trial. Not too sure yet as to when that will start taking place. Let's try and talk to the residents regarding the reaction. Sabana Mama, how are you feeling about the judgment?
I'm so happy. She must rot in jail. I've got a child, but my child is big, but I don't believe I will kill my daughter. Never.
Thank you so much. Let's try to speak to someone else. Ms. Solomons, you've been running away from the media. We saw you celebrating outside of court. If you could just come closer. You also welcoming the judgment. You're happy with what transpired in court?
The community is elated at the outcome of this bail hearing. Justice must just be served now. We claim it in the name of Jesus, because God doesn't punish the not guilty, you know.
And what do you think of her reaction? We saw her quite emotional as well. Just talk to us about that. We saw that she was emotional in court. Is this the way she's been throughout? How do you feel about that?
She's never been emotional. Even with the memorial service, with the march, with the sit-down, never showed emotions like she showed now. We are elated.
Thank you so much. Ms. Solomons here, one of the community members in the Vlierhof area, Ayanda, also just expressing elation at the ruling that was made just now, where Tiffany Nicole Meek was not granted bail in this matter. So there you have it, quite a happy crowd. And this is exactly what they were anticipating, Ayanda, when we spoke to them earlier. It seemed as though they had trust in the state. We also do see another community leader who's been following this case from the time Jaden Lee Meek's body was found on the 14th of May. So Tiffany Meek spends the rest of the time until the trial starts. We have no idea at this stage when that will be, and we also heard her legal defense saying that maybe this trial will be set and heard at a different court. But all that and more, Ayanda, as we try and get more details.
Yeah, and of course, the next step now is around the trial. I wonder if there's been any information, Lopang, if you can still hear us, around a trial date and what the NPA has to say in response to this outcome.
Ayanda, we saw quite a number of people inside court. We did see the NPA spokesperson, Pinum Jonondwane. She is here, and it seems she might be getting briefed because we're waiting for her for a reaction. We also did see the Deputy Police Commissioner for Gauteng, Major General Fred Kekana, who has also been in attendance. So we'll try and speak to them, hopefully before. Let's just give them 30 minutes to try and get some information. At this stage, Ayanda, no word on when the trial will commence or when it will start rather, and at which court. So she might appeal, and that's just a couple of the hints that we're getting from her legal counsel, Novan Naidu, who seemed quite defeated. But he did say this morning that he's not entirely hopeful, but he did the best that he could to get his client out on bail. Unfortunately for them, that application was unsuccessful.
Yeah, we've spent a considerable amount of time, Lopang, watching Tiffany Meek throughout her entire bail application. How would you describe her demeanor today, especially as that final verdict was delivered?
Ayanda, she seemed a bit more nervous than what we normally see in court. Of course, crying as she had been the entire bail application hearing the past 3 weeks. But today we also saw her make a little bit more conversation in public with her legal defense. We also did see her trying to look back and forth, trying to see if her family members were in the gallery. We saw her mother, we saw her brother and her boyfriend seated next to each other in court. What we also did notice that she cried a little bit harder when she realized that the magistrate was getting closer to making that particular ruling. We also did see that she just tried to have a word with her family members. Not too sure how that went. We did try to speak to her, but she was downstairs before we know it. So she seemed quite emotional, and we'd see her from time to time shaking her head in disagreement with what the magistrate was saying.
Yeah, there's been a lot of questions around where Jayden Lee's father might have been, or the paternal family. Has there been any kind of information around what they are saying, Lopang, throughout this process?
Ayanda, the last time we had a conversation with them, they were just pleading with the public to trust the justice system, trust that the courts would make the right decisions. They also did mention that some of the things that Tiffany Meek wrote in her bail application hearing affidavit, they disagreed with most of the stuff that was said there, but they called for calm. They asked the residents of Vleerhof to also just be careful of doing anything that might harm Tiffany should she be granted bail. We saw the brother of Jayden Lee's father in court. I'm not too certain if they've left. They were lurking around here, but they asked that we don't speak to them just as yet. We're hoping they speak to us as well, just to find out if they're welcoming this judgment. We also did see that the family was standing just outside court. I'm assuming they were trying to speak to Tiffany now that they know that she will not be released.
All right, Lopang Alamu, thanks very much indeed for that reporting. Once again, our breaking news at the Sawa, Tiffany Meek has been denied bail. That's the 31-year-old woman who's been arrested in connection with her son's murder. The court, in essence, not really being convinced by her version of events, saying that her behavior on that fateful day when Jayden Lee was found raises more questions than answers. As we've seen there outside court, scenes of jubilation from many of the community members who'd gathered there from day one. I think it's quite fair to say. In fact, one of them saying that they're convinced that in fact she is guilty. And we just want to juxtapose that with the court emphasizing that bail isn't anticipatory punishment. In other words, the trial still needs to go ahead. The merits of the case still need to be ventilated before, of course, some kind of verdict is delivered and ultimately a sentencing proceeding is initiated. But this is just one of several instances where South Africans have to grapple with the prospects of children in the country being harmed by individuals who are essentially entrusted with safeguarding them. And we really do have a number of other examples without making any inference on this particular case, which, as I mentioned, still needs to go to trial. There'll be a whole lot more said as we also anticipate word from the National Prosecuting Authority, who I imagine will be most pleased with this outcome, given that this bail was in fact opposed.